white.
And he holds
So we are aware that Kenya is going through very difficult economic times, and we recognize the fact that it's affecting Kenyans, and especially those ones who are jobless and so on. The people at home, who have to take care of their families. We are also conscious of the real issues that are at hand. People are suffering. Um, Without any merit to the finance bill that has been passed, we believe, and it is even biblical, that paying taxes is an obligation of a citizen. That's how a nation thrives. From the taxes, that's where people are paid salaries and services are administered, development, and so on. So the call by the opposition to boycott taxes may not be the best advice that can be given, because then how does a country continue? How does a country survive? Whereas it's understandable, the high taxes that are being increased, that they are overwhelming Kenyans, but it's also important to bear in mind that taxes is our obligation. In fact, it is like our obligation to pay taxes so that the services are rendered to us. So the opposition may need to look at it very clearly, that what is it that you are asking Kenyans at this point in time, and what is the alternative? If the Kenyans don't pay the taxes, then what happens? Yeah, it's very important that the finance bill that was passed and has been signed, that it's looked at. If you have 90% Kenyans saying no to the finance bill, they must be saying something. So if we force this our way to parliament and it's passed into a law, it doesn't make it right. It means that the Kenyans need to be listened to. And listening is one attitude that I think the government needs to develop. Listen, yes, the taxes, the finance bill may be meaning well, but if 90% of Kenyans have not seen that well meaning, then it's important that you engage more and more. So, is it not perhaps good for the government, even when this bill has been signed into law, that it can be reviewed? Because what is not cast in stone is for the good of the human beings. It can always be reviewed. And maybe the government needs to look at this, review the finance bill, and let it not appear or be perceived to be punitive to the very Kenyans whom we want to help. And, if they can push it like that, then they can also bring it back.
They can bring it back.
Yeah.
That is a possibility.
Otherwise, you are doing what?
Anyway, sauti yako inasikika sana. Last Friday we missed you and Kulimo.
Let us also bear in mind that the fact that if taxes are not paid as an obligation of every citizen, then the first people to suffer are the very poor Kenyans again, whom we fight for. So when we are fighting for the rights of the poor and the suffering, it's very important also to see what are the mechanisms that help. If we don't pay the taxes, what do we do? So we don't want a country that collapses, and it collapses with the very poor that we are set out to fight for. But then there are also valid issues that are being raised by the opposition. Even when these taxes are increased, or even those that are existing, what are they serving the Kenyans, or they are being looted? When we hear things like KEMSA, NHIF, and all these other scandals, then what we make of taxes that are being paid? So there is a question of paying taxes as an obligation, but also utilizing the taxes for the benefit of the Kenyans. Morally speaking, it's our obligation to pay taxes. To boycott may not be the right way of going about it. Remember, even when the Pharisees asked, is it right to pay taxes or not? And Jesus said, it is, let us render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. The Roman Empire was probably one of the corrupt empires that have existed in the world. And Jesus lived during those days, but he did not ask his followers to abstain from taxes. He says is to pay taxes, is to obey the laws, but at the same time he challenged the systems so that they are able to be proactive to support and help the poor. So I will ask Kenyans that let us be objective, let us look at the issues. Kenya is ours, Kenya needs us, and we need to play our obligations as much as the government must be always very clear. The taxes that are being increased, are they going to the Kenyans or they are going to the stomachs of a few people in Kenya?